She thought she could humiliate her niece in her own kitchen. She walked away with the smell of revenge stuck in her nose. Tonight we have 4 stories where the bullies, the meddlers, and the moochers all learned the same brutal lesson. You do not get to push a decent person around forever. Sometimes the payback is small. Sometimes it ends a career in front of a watching room. But every single antagonist in tonight's lineup ends the same way: losing. Welcome to Ruthless Retribution. If you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep us bringing you more. Here's what you're getting in the next 40 minutes. An aunt who weaponized smelling fingers and got a surprise she will never forget. A wedding bride who insulted a guest and is now being slowly cooked alive at every gathering. A stranger who tried to turn a guest room into a free 9-night Airbnb for her 2 kids. And a professor who told his class any source is valid, then learned what that actually means in writing. These are real stories pulled from Reddit this past week and the weeks before it. Posts with thousands of upvotes and hundreds of comments. The kind of stories you read and you feel your shoulders drop because finally somebody got what was coming to them. We are not changing the endings to make you feel better. We are not softening the comeuppance. We are giving them to you exactly as they happened, told the way they should be told. The reason these stories hit so hard is simple. Most of us have an Aunt Jean. Most of us have a friend who insults our spouse with a smile. Most of us have had a stranger try to take advantage of kindness. And most of us swallowed it. We bit our tongues. We kept the peace. We chose the high road and we drove home thinking about what we should have said. The people in tonight's stories did not swallow it. They followed the rules to the letter and let the rules do the punishing for them. This channel runs on a specific kind of justice. Not the courtroom kind. Not the screaming kind. The quiet kind. The kind where the antagonist walks away from the table without quite knowing what just happened to them. The kind where 6 hours later in their car they finally figure it out. And by then it is far too late to react. That is the thread you are going to hear running through every story tonight. The slow burn, the patient setup, the single perfect line that closes the trap. We picked these 4 stories carefully. They are not the loudest revenge posts on Reddit. They are not the most violent. They are the ones where the comeuppance fits the crime so neatly you almost feel sorry for the antagonist by the end. Almost. Because in every case, the person on the receiving end of the lesson earned every bit of it. They had been pushing for this moment for years. The narrators of tonight's stories just finally gave them what they were looking for. Before we get into the comeuppance, you need to understand the world these stories live in. Family is the one place you cannot quit. You can leave a job. You can leave a friendship. You can move out of a neighborhood. But the aunt who has been needling you since you were 14 is still going to be at Thanksgiving. The friend your wife brought into the marriage is still going to be at every birthday. The stranger your buddy invited to dinner is still in your house at midnight refusing to leave. So when family conflict goes nuclear, the revenge has to be something you can live with for the next 30 years. Quiet, controlled, plausibly deniable. That is the art form on display tonight. We start with the kind of small-time household tyrant most of you grew up with. The relative who never had her own kids, never built her own life, and decided your childhood was her hobby. The one who lived to get you in trouble. Most of us just survived people like that. The kid in our first story did not. He got even, in the most unforgettable way a teenager possibly could. This first story comes from /malicious compliance, posted 7 days ago, just under 5,000 upvotes and over 300 comments. The original poster is now in his 30s, looking back on something he did when he was 14 years old. He has an aunt. We will call her the aunt. She is, in his exact words, a bit of a jerk. The kind of person who lives for drama. The kind who walks into a peaceful house and starts looking for somebody to turn in. When the kid was a teenager, she made it her personal mission to get him in trouble with his parents. She thought his mom and dad were too lenient, so she appointed herself the sheriff. Anything she could catch him doing, she would run to his mother and report it like a courtroom witness. Here is the detail that makes this story land. The kid was already a smoker. He had started at 10 years old. Yes, 10. He smoked all the way until his late 20s before quitting, and he has been clean for decades now. But back then, he was a regular smoker, and his parents knew it. They both smoked themselves. They had what he calls a don't ask, don't tell policy. If they caught him smoking at home or in the yard, he got grounded. Otherwise, they let it slide. That casual approach drove the aunt insane. She wanted somebody punished. She wanted a scene. She wanted her sister to crack down on this teenager the way she would have. So whenever the kid came home from being out of sight, she had her new ritual ready to deploy. She would demand to smell his fingers. If she caught a whiff of tobacco, she would run straight to his mom. He would get grounded. His aunt would smile. Picture being 14 years old and having a grown adult walk up to you in your own kitchen and order you to stick your hand under her nose. Imagine doing that twice a week for years. That is the world this kid was living in. He had no power. His parents tolerated her because she was family. He had to keep handing his fingers over and pretend it was completely normal. One afternoon, she comes by to visit. She is sitting at the kitchen table with his mom, having coffee, gossiping. The kid walks in to say hi. The second she sees him, she demands to smell his fingers. He is exhausted by it at this point. He is 14 and he has already played this game hundreds of times. So he says, "Wait a minute, I have to do something first," and he runs upstairs. The aunt yells after him. She tells him not to wash his hands. She says if she hears the water running, she will know he tried to scrub the smoke off. She thought she was outsmarting him. She thought she had finally cornered him. What she did not realize was that she had just handed a very tired teenager direct instructions. He goes upstairs. He goes into the bathroom. He uses the toilet. He does what people do on the toilet. He wipes the way anybody wipes. He finishes the way anyone finishes. And then, per his aunt's exact orders, he does not wash his hands. He just walks back downstairs. He gets to the kitchen. His aunt is waiting at the table, smug, ready for her gotcha moment. He sticks his hand right under her nose. She takes a long, deep, confident inhale. The whole point is to catch the tobacco smell. The whole point is to win. She freezes. She makes a face. She says, in front of his mother, "Ew, that smells like something terrible." He just nods and says, "Okay." He turns around. He starts pouring himself a cup of coffee. There is this long silence at the table. His mom is waiting. The aunt is waiting. They are both staring at the back of his head. Finally, his mother breaks. She asks him what the smell was. He keeps stirring his coffee, calm as anything. He just says it was what comes out of a person on the toilet. And the aunt loses it. She starts gagging. She runs to the kitchen sink. She is dry heaving over the dishes. The smell itself had not bothered her. The information bothered her. Knowing what she had been sniffing for 10 full seconds had broken her composure entirely. She is at the sink retching for several minutes while his mother sits at the table somewhere between amused and annoyed. His mom finally turns to him and asks him why on earth he did that. He looks her dead in the eye. He says, "She told me not to wash my hands. I was just following orders." His mother could not punish him. He had done exactly what the aunt demanded, in exactly the way she demanded it. That is the purest definition of malicious compliance. That story is, on its surface, a teenage prank. But look closer at what really happened. A grown adult, with no power over a kid, invented a ritual to humiliate him for years. She made him submit his hands to her like he was a suspect at a checkpoint. And one afternoon, that kid found a way to give her exactly what she demanded and end the game forever. Because here is what nobody talks about. After that day, the aunt never asked to smell his fingers again. The ritual was dead. She had been outmaneuvered by a 14-year-old, and she knew it. That is small stakes family payback. The next story is what happens when the antagonist is not a relative, but a person your spouse brought into your life. The kind of friend who smiles at the wedding and insults your wife in front of you. The kind you cannot kick out, because she is not yours to kick. Every married person watching this knows exactly the energy I am about to describe. And the husband in this next story has been planning his revenge for years. This one comes from r/petty revenge. Over 54,000 upvotes, almost 3,000 comments. Posted last month and still going viral. It is one of the most read revenge posts of the year. It is told by the husband himself. The target is his wife's best friend. Here is the setup. His wife had been close with this friend for years. The friend gets engaged, and she decides her wedding is going to be a 3-day production. Multiple ceremonies, multiple meals, different dress codes for every event. A late-night dinner that started at 9 in the evening and went on for 3 hours. Then dancing afterward, on a weeknight. The husband and wife showed up for dinner. They are not party people. They begged off the dancing because they had work in the morning. A reasonable, adult, forgivable choice. Day 2. The friend hosts a brunch. She makes a point of telling everyone how much fun the dancing was. She says even old people went. She says even the kids went. This is a dig. It is meant to land on the couple who skipped. The wife absorbs it. She smiles. She moves on with the morning. Then there are 2 more ceremonies that day. Then another brunch on day 3. By the morning of the 3rd brunch, the couple is exhausted. They have been dressing up and showing up for this woman for 3 solid days. The wife is on her 4th outfit of the weekend. She has done her hair and makeup 4 separate times. They drag themselves out the door smiling and head over to the brunch one more time together. They walk in. The friend, the bride, the woman they have been bending over backwards for, greets them at the door. She looks the wife up and down, and then with this judgmental little tone, she says, "Oh, hi, babe. Wow, you look comfy. Comfy. As in, you are not trying. As in, you didn't put in enough effort. As in, after 3 days of full glam for her wedding, the bride looked at the wife and called her sloppy. In front of her own husband. In front of all the other guests. With that fake smile women use when they want to do damage and keep their hands looking clean. The wife tries to brush it off in the car on the way home. She tells her husband it was probably just stress. The bride was overwhelmed. The bride did not really mean it. The husband listens. He nods. He drives home. And then he sits down and decides something. He decides this woman is going to pay for that one comment forever. He is not going to scream at her. He is not going to confront her. He is going to outlast her at every gathering. He is going to repay it slowly, one compliment at a time, for years and years. And that is what he has been doing. At every gathering since, he has been finding new ways to insult the friend in language so polite she cannot react. He says, "I love how you don't care about vanity. I love how you just go with that natural look." He says, "I wish I had your attitude about showing up whenever. I always feel like I have to be on time." He has said you look super comfy at least 4 different times. Each time, with the exact tone she used on his wife at the brunch. With that same fake friendly delivery. He gives them in front of her husband. He gives them in front of her friends. And every single time, you can watch the gears in her head start grinding. She cannot tell if he is being kind or cruel. She cannot ask, because asking would mean admitting she heard the bite. She has to smile and say thank you. She has to pretend it landed soft. And she has to walk away wondering if the husband of the woman she humiliated is now hunting her at every party for the rest of her life. The post got 54,000 upvotes for one reason. Almost everyone watching this has a friend who pulled something similar. A friend who weaponized her own insecurity at your wedding, your party, your big night, and almost nobody got their revenge. This husband did. He is still doing it. He says he will continue until the friend leaves their lives or one of them dies. And the comments section handed him hundreds of new lines to use at the next gathering. He is taking notes for every future event. Here is what makes this story land for couples in particular. He did not retaliate by getting his wife to drop the friend. He did not start a feud. He did not create drama for his wife to manage. He absorbed the punishment quietly and started returning it surgically. Every dig is a single sentence. Every dig is technically a compliment. Every dig is delivered with a smile. The friend cannot raise the issue without admitting what she said in the first place, which means she is trapped inside her own moment. She has no exit. She is going to be cooked at gatherings for as long as this marriage lasts. That is patient revenge. That is the long game in action. But that revenge was nothing compared to what came next, because the next story involves a complete stranger walking into a man's house and trying to live there for 9 days, without asking, without permission, with 2 children and a passive-aggressive guilt trip already loaded in her mouth and ready to fire. The way the homeowner shut it down is going to make you applaud out loud. Story 3. Post on R entitled Parents. About 4,800 upvotes. 320 comments. The original poster is a man with a big house in what sounds like a wealthy neighborhood. He has a wife and a girlfriend. He has kids and grandkids. He likes to cook and he likes to feed people. So when he made too much dinner one Thursday, he called his friend and invited her over. The friend asked if she could bring her out-of-town guest along. The host said sure, the more the merrier. He had no idea what he had just agreed to host. An hour later, his friend arrives. She is not alone. She has another woman with her, and 2 kids the host has never seen in his entire life. And here is the small detail he noticed right away. The other woman and the kids were carrying bags. Large bags. Travel bags. The host filed it in the back of his mind and assumed they had not had time to drop their stuff at the hotel before heading over. He is a polite man. He let it slide for the moment. The strange woman, we will call her the entitled mom, asks if she can stash her bags somewhere out of the way. The host walks her to one of his guest rooms. He sets the bags inside. He goes back to the kitchen. The kids ask about video games. He shows them the game room. He has consoles. He has PCs. The kids light up immediately. The host smiles. Everyone is having a nice evening together. Dinner is served. He literally rings a brass kitchen bell to call people to the table. Birria tacos, rice and beans, a side salad, drinks, conversation. The grandkids are at the table. Everyone is happy. After dinner, he serves homemade flan. And while he is plating dessert, the entitled mom slips back to the guest room she had picked. After dessert, she announces it is time for her kids to get changed for bed. The host stops. He blinks. He cannot understand why a person would put their pajamas on at someone else's house when they were heading back to a hotel. So he asks her, calmly, why not get changed at your hotel? And that is when the bomb drops. She does not have a hotel. She never had a hotel. She had assumed, from the moment she got off the plane, that she and her 2 children would be staying at his house for the visit, for 9 nights. In the guest room she had already chosen. She had set out sleeping bags for the kids. She had unpacked. She had made herself at home in a stranger's home, without asking, on the assumption that he was rich enough not to care. The host did the math out loud, in front of all of them. He had never met this woman before tonight. He had never offered her a room. He had not extended an invitation for the night, let alone for 9 nights. Even his friend, the one who brought her, had not asked. And the second the host said no, the entitled mom went into her practiced guilt trip move. She gave him a guilt trip. in front of the kids, in front of the whole party, about not supporting single mothers, about how hard her life was, about how the host had so much space and she had so much need. The host, to his credit, did not yell. He did not lecture. He just told her she was not staying. He told her to find another place to sleep tonight. She did. The local casino hotel had a room, $300 a night, 9 nights. That works out to $2,700. The entitled mom was furious. She told everyone the host had cost her 2 months of rent, as if her rent was somehow his problem to solve, as if she had a right to 9 free nights in a stranger's home and he had stolen them from her family. The post went viral because the comeuppance is so clean. She came in expecting to win on guilt. She lost to politeness. The host did not insult her. He did not throw her out. He just refused to play her game. And the moment she had to pull out her credit card and book that hotel, the whole thing collapsed. Her entire scheme depended on a stranger being too embarrassed to say no. The host was not that kind of stranger. The pattern across these 3 stories so far is the same one. Somebody in a position of weak power tries to bully somebody who looks like an easy mark. The aunt thought a teenager could not push back. The friend thought the wife would absorb it. The entitled mom thought a wealthy host would cave to a single mother guilt trip. All 3 of them were wrong. All 3 of them lost. And in every case, the punishment was something the antagonist could never publicly complain about afterward. That is the genius of all of them. But that pattern is about to get a 4th example, and this one comes from a college classroom, not a kitchen. Because the next antagonist is a professor who decided he could insult a student's reading and dare her to push back. She pushed back, and the way she did it is going to live in academic infamy for years. Story 4. Malicious compliance again. Just over 14,000 upvotes, 367 comments, posted 10 days ago. The OP was in her junior year of college taking a research methods class. The professor, we will call him the professor. He has a PhD. He has tenure. He has the kind of attitude where his word is the source. He stands in front of the room and makes sweeping claims with no citations attached. And he does not like being questioned about it. One afternoon, he makes a big statement about consumer behavior. The OP has read 2 peer-reviewed papers that say the opposite. She raises her hand. She politely mentions that the literature contradicts him. The professor stiffens. He does not concede. Instead, he gives her a line that he is going to regret for the rest of his career. He says, in this class, any source is valid as long as you cite it correctly. He says, the quality of your argument is what matters. The whole room hears him say it. The OP nods. She writes it down word for word, and on her walk home she starts planning her response paper. Her next paper is due in 2 weeks. She decides she is going to write the paper arguing the opposite of his claim. She is going to argue against him in writing, and for her primary source, she is going to use his own words against him. 3 weeks earlier, in a different lecture, the professor had made a comment that, read carefully, actually undermined his current position. The OP had transcribed that lecture for her own notes. She had the exact words.
As you can see,
she formatted the citation according to the citation guide he had handed out on day 1 of the semester. Last name, first initial, class lecture, course number, university name, date, picture-perfect formatting on every detail. She wrote her paper. She built her counter-argument around his own contradiction. Every time she needed a primary source, she cited him. By his own words, from his own lecture, with his own formatting standards.
This brings us to
she turned the paper in.
Causality.
He handed papers back the following week. Hers came back with a note in the margin. Strong argument. Solid structure. And then at the bottom, in a different ink, he had written, "This citation is not acceptable to me. Please see me." She went to see him. She brought the citation guide. She brought a printout of his own quote. She put both documents on his desk. She asked him, calmly, which part of the citation requirements she had failed to meet. There was a long, painful silence in his office. He stared at the page. He stared at the citation guide. He had no answer he could give her. He could not say the citation was wrong because it was not wrong. He could not say the source was invalid because he had told the entire class that any source was valid as long as it was cited correctly. He could not say the argument was weak because he had already written that her argument was strong. He had backed himself into a logic trap with his own words, and there was only one way out of the corner he was in. He changed her grade from a B+ to an A-. He told her the citation was technically valid but in poor taste in his opinion. The OP took the new grade and walked out of his office. She wrote in her post that she has never felt more seen by a grade in her life. And she is right to feel that way, because what she had just done was historic in a quiet way. She had taken a man whose entire identity was based on being unchallengeable and used his own rules to make him admit, in writing, that her argument against him was strong. She did it without raising her voice. She did it without being rude. She did it by reading the syllabus carefully and remembering exactly what he had said in lecture 3 weeks earlier. That is the exact same playbook the kid with the ant used. That is the exact same playbook the husband with the wife's friend is using. That is the exact same playbook the host with the entitled mom used at his table. Follow the rules to the letter. Let the rules do the punishing. Now we step back and look at all four. The ant, the wedding bride, the entitled mom, the arrogant professor. 4 different settings, 4 different power dynamics, 4 different antagonists who thought they had picked an easy target, and 4 different victims who refused to play it easy. Notice what every winner in tonight's stories had in common. None of them lost their temper. None of them yelled. None of them broke a relationship in front of witnesses. They all stayed inside the rules of the game the antagonist had set, and that is what made the comeuppance so devastating to watch land. There is no comeback for somebody who got beat by their own rules. You cannot accuse the kid of disobeying. You cannot accuse the husband of being mean. You cannot accuse the host of being rude. You cannot accuse the student of citing improperly. They all complied, maliciously, perfectly down to the word. There is something almost beautiful about how these stories end. The aunt never sniffed his fingers again. The bride is still being insulted at every event with a smile. The entitled mom is paying for a casino hotel out of her own pocket. The professor is staring at his own gradebook, wondering how a junior in college made him eat his own words in front of his class. None of them got the satisfying explosion they wanted. They got the slow, quiet, professional kind of loss. The kind you cannot complain about without making yourself look worse to everyone listening. Take a moment and think about what is happening at the moment of impact in each story. The ant is staring at her own hands, gagging into a sink, while a 14-year-old quietly pours coffee. The bride is forcing a smile and saying thank you to a man whose tone she cannot quite read. The entitled mom is pulling out her credit card while her kids watch. The professor is changing a grade he never wanted to change. None of them shouted. None of them got a satisfying moment of their own to remember. They were beaten without ever being touched. That is what good revenge looks like in the real world. Not loud, not violent, just final. There is one more thread connecting all 4 of these stories. Every single antagonist set up a rule expecting it would protect them. Smell my fingers and I will catch you. Show up to my wedding and I will judge your effort. Come to my friend's nice house and I will move in. Cite anything you want as long as you cite it right. They all believed the rule favored the powerful. What they forgot is that rules cut both ways. The moment a careful person reads the rule, the power flips. The same rule that was supposed to trap the kid trapped the ant. The same rule of polite social compliments started cooking the bride. The same hospitality the host extended exposed the entitled mom for what she was. The same citation rule the professor wielded got used to grade his own ego. Here is the thing about people like this. They count on you being too tired to read carefully. They count on you being too polite to push back. They count on you being too embarrassed to make a scene. The aunt counted on a teenager being scared of getting grounded. The bride counted on a married couple wanting to keep the peace. The entitled mom counted on a host being too generous to throw her out. The professor counted on a junior being too intimidated to fight a tenured faculty member. They all picked their targets carefully. They all picked wrong, because every single one of those targets had been studying the rules for years. You can hear it in how the narrators tell their stories. There is no surprise in their voices. There is no shock. There is the quiet satisfaction of a person who knew exactly what they were going to do the moment the antagonist opened the door. The kid did not invent the toilet trick on the fly. He had been thinking about that aunt and her sniff demands for years. The husband at the brunch did not improvise his first comfy joke. He went home, sat down, and decided on a campaign. The host with the entitled mom did not panic. He did the math out loud and held the line. The student in the research class did not write that paper in a fit of rage. She heard the professor's line, recognized the gift, and waited 2 weeks to deliver it. Patience is the weapon. The antagonist always brings impulse. The narrator always brings preparation. That is why they win. If you are watching this and there is somebody in your life who has been pushing you around for years, take notes from the 4 people in tonight's stories. Do not scream. Do not block them on social media. Do not write the long text message you have been drafting in your head. Read what they say carefully. Remember what they ordered you to do. And when the moment comes, follow their instructions exactly. Karma does not need your help. Karma needs your full attention to detail and patience. The world will keep producing Aunt Jans. There will always be wedding brides who insult their guests. There will always be entitled moms walking into strangers' houses. There will always be professors who think their PhDs make them right. The question is not whether you will run into one of them. The question is whether you will be the one paying attention when they hand you the rope to hang them with. Thanks for watching Ruthless Retribution. If this story was worth your time, drop a like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow. See you in the next one.